So this was a pleasant surprise and coincidentally lines up with the release of the audiobook. So it's a very Spike-centric episode with intervention, and I usually don't try to spoil things to let in new people, but there will have to be at least a few minor spoilers for Buffy seasons 1 to 5. I will try to minimize them. And I usually like this YouTuber. I think Ian is usually pretty good with Buffy, although I disagree a lot. But with this one, I'm going to be very, very critical. I hope it's taken in the manner of being constructive back and forth with Buffy and Angel fans and the way we disagree very violently sometimes over a fiction we enjoy and think is very worthwhile. So for those completely new, essentially in this episode, Spike gets a sex robot in the image of Buffy. But a lot more is going on because the structure of the episode and where it's placed is very curious. This is really just a short time after the body, and unlike many Buffy people, I have my issues with the body. I've already done a video on that. If you want more, I will put the link below. But essentially I think the body just came in the wrong place at the wrong time with the Glory story. And this is kind of the same thing because it does help advance the Glory story at least a little bit, but the focus really here is on the Buffy Spike romance, as well as Buffy having this kind of weird force vision, force trek to learn more about herself. That sets up a twist with the finale, which Ian really likes and I really like as well. But it is a very curious, mixed episode, but I think his tact of criticizing it felt a little strange, frankly.
Buffy bot are getting to know each other? Look, I know it's icky. Like, I know. I get it. It's disgusting, and there's also something so cute about Spike's affection for the Buffy bot. And Sarah's performance as the bot is freaking adorable.
Say, look at you. You look just like me. We're very pretty.
Things are complex, and rarely ever just one thing or another. Making a sex toy in someone's likeness without their consent is gross and violating. And Espenson wrote this. It's written to be cute. Also, I don't think I'd ever noticed before this rewatch that Spike is a very generous bot owner.
Well, a lot is going on here. One is the ethics of just doing this period versus what it means in the Buffyverse. And I think he missed the entire point because he says, well, it's adorable what's happening, but it's still very disgusting. I'm not defending what Spike is doing, but I think he missed the whole point. Namely, this is meant as a parody. He says later it's a parody of fan fiction. I don't think it is. I think it's a kind of parody of Spike's attitude of what he wants with Buffy. And apparently he just wants this kind of basically slave who will always like him, who will have sex readily available for him, who will always give him praise. But again, that's not really a real person. So the obvious question is, well, why Buffy? You could have just put this robot in the image of anyone. Drusilla, Harmony. So I think it's a parody of Spike and his tendency to overperform. That he's a very performative person. He just likes performing before the camera or before the audience. But the robot is not as advanced as he wants it to be. So there will always be these telling signs that, yeah, this is a fiction. It's not really the real person. I also think he goes a little overboard in terms of how comedic the episode is. I mean, this is an episode that he gets tortured really thoroughly. I mean, they did a really good job with the makeup. You really feel it when Glory attacks him, damages his body. That Ian has this weird theory that Spike enjoys being hurt. I did not get that at all with Glory. He did not enjoy being tortured. He was thoroughly pummeled. He didn't get a sexual thrill out of it. It was a real physical challenge. And I think that's the heart of the episode is his willingness to do a massive sacrifice for Dawn and Buffy when he could have just given up the information and been very, very selfish and basically just tried to escape and just look out for himself. That's usually the Spike modus operandi. At the end of the day, besides Drusilla, he only cares about himself. He just does not care about other people. But this season and where they've been going with the seasons after season 2, he's just become much more complicated. And Ian has a lot of skepticism that this is really a new person. I could share that skepticism, but I don't see X or Y having sex with a robot damaging his ethics because, good or bad, this will be coming to us very soon. And good or bad, it may become very normalized. You may think it's disgusting, but we're back to certain sexual practices that were not common before do become common. That doesn't really influence the analysis of the fiction. I would recommend this episode very highly. It's one of my favorite Buffy episodes. I think it's a rock-solid episode unto itself, and I'm not a big fan of Jane Espenson. I've become more of an Espenson skeptic. However, You do have to see a few Spike episodes before seeing this, otherwise it will be very confusing. But if you see enough of the Spike episodes, even if you're a passive fan, you're going to get a lot out of this because it's a very dramatic turn at the end. It's more than just a kiss that Buffy gives. There's a lot of symbolic meaning behind how we got to that place. So it's a very strong episode. I'm giving Intervention itself a 9 out of 10, but unfortunately I think the analysis here was very faulty, and I think it's a unfortunately below average analysis video from Passion.
Love the Buffy bot stuff and how Spike and the bot's romance plays like a bad fan fiction.
I want to hurt you, but I can't resist the sinister attraction of your cold and muscular body.